It's Thursday on the set of Inside Nigeria, your breakfast on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Weber. Of course, it's been raining cats and dogs since this morning, and sure feels good to be with you on today's show. Without wasting much time on the first half of this program, we'll look at what the papers are saying, including Nigeria's most influential leadership. We go to leadership and see what leadership has on its menu this Thursday. And just as that has been the case, leadership has two covers. We'll just go to the main one inside and see what the stories are on the cover. PDP crisis, no party registration first. Coalition faces hurdle over name clash. It's no news. Yesterday it was reported that 108 political parties have applied to be registered by INEC, and that is where is one of the riders and kickers to the leading story. Party registration, coalition faces hurdle over name clash. Two other associations seek recognition as ADA. 108 others applied to be political parties. We are diligently processing requests coming from INEC. Coalition unseated themselves, not me, coming from President Bola Tinubu in reaction to that. Party registration, coalition faces hurdle over name clash. The story runs on page 8 of leadership. Still on leadership, 4 kids injured in fresh Bono explosion. Hijra, Kano declares Thursday public holiday for Islamic New Year. IBB seeks strong voices to defend northern interests. The story runs on page 10 of leadership. IBB seeks strong voices to defend northern interests. Insecurity will deploy 800 special forces coming from the Chief of Defense Staff, CDS. We move towards the masthead of leadership. PDP crisis, party split over Anyawu's return. Is an unending crisis in PDP. And of course, another report has it that Saraki and Damagun Bake, the scribes, return. On the business bus of leadership, disruptions loom in oil gas sector over helicopter landing fee as Nigerian Airspace Management Agency threatens ban. Kicker to that leading story on the business bus of leadership this Thursday. Disruptions loom in oil gas sector over helicopter landing fee as Nigerian Airspace Management Agency threatens ban. Let's take some excerpts from that business story. Disruption looms in the nation's oil and gas sector as the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, NAMA, is said to deny flight clearances and possibly shut down non-compliant oil and gas companies operating in the country over non-payment of the $300 helicopter landing levies. NAMA, in a notice on Wednesday, stated that it had been engaging operators in the sector since 2022 in collaboration with NAIB Dynamic Concepts Limited to enforce compliance with the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency Act of 2022, but to no avail. Excerpts from the business story on the cover of leadership this Thursday. Disruptions loom in oil gas sector over helicopter landing fee. That takes us to the stories about the masthead of leadership. Running mate, I will do whatever president wants in 2027, coming from Barau. Running mate, I will do whatever president wants in 2027, coming from the deputy Senate President Barau. Of course, there has been speculations over President Bola Tinubu's running mate for 2027 presidential elections, and some names have been mooted as possible replacement for the current Vice President Kashim Shettima. Tinubu mourns as Esquire Governor Cornelius Adebayo dies at 84. Tinubu mourns as Esquire Governor Cornelius Adebayo dies at 84. From there, we move to the page 3 of leadership. There today is actually on page 5. We move to page 5 of leadership for our stand. Today's stand is on the plight of industrial centers. As we normally do, let's take some excerpts from today's stand. In 1965, the first Industrial Development Center, IDC, in Nigeria was established in Owerri, in present-day Imo State, by the then Eastern Nigerian government. The federal government took it over in 1970, alongside others in Oshogbo, Zaria, and Maiduguri. They were known then as zonal centers. The number later went up to 30. They were among the agencies set up by the federal government to help small-scale businesses in Nigeria. The idea as it was conceived then was noble, but over time, lethargy set in, and at the execution stage, the government lost sight of what whose centers were set up to achieve. We'll go to the stand proper, where that is towards the conclusion, where the paper takes its stand. It says we urge all lawmakers not to see this assignment as another ego trip, an opportunity to grandstand and appease their constituents on the eve of another election cycle. Industrialization is a key element of national development. Because of it, China emerged from the specter of the iron curtain to a superpower competing with the most powerful. Nigeria's economic rating declined from the largest economy in Africa to the fourth, ought to be a clarion call for concerted action in this direction. In the opinion of this newspaper, lawmakers and the government at all levels have their job cut out for them to make the right laws and nudge the country in the right direction. Today's stand in Leadership newspaper, the plight of industrial centers. With that, we move to the back page where we have Being Blunt with Muazu Elize. Muazu Elize is the group managing director of Leadership Newspaper Limited. And of course, his column called Being Blunt is talking about amid dipping revenue, Nigeria must modify constituency project scheme. Amid dipping revenue, Nigeria must modify constituency project scheme. We take quote from that column. It is one of the many things that portray the National Assembly as self-serving. Of course, you can't afford to miss this column. You'll have to log into the website of Leadership to read more on today's Being Blunt with Muazu Elize. Before we leave the back page, let's go to Ghana Must. In the news is Malam Nancy El-Rufai, I have no desire to become president. And Ghana Must Go asks, we have no desire to elect you. Wow, that was blunt. It's on that note we conclude today's review of Leadership newspaper. Don't forget to log into the website to read all the stories and more in your favorite newspaper, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move ahead to Vanguard. We have Vanguard's next in our lineup. Vanguard's leading story says PDP crisis deepens as NWC members counter Damagun, insist Anyanwu not reinstated. NWC deputies rally behind Damagun. You can't order him around. Wike tells Damagun. Without neck, you can't remove Anyanwu, but they judge. Tinubu saddened by crisis in PDP Labour Party, Akpabio. Fix your issues. Stop blaming Tinubu. Shehu Sani tells PDP Labour Party others. Kickers to the leading story on today's Vanguard newspaper this Thursday, June 26, 2025. PDP crisis deepens as National Working Committee, that is NWC members, counter Damagu, insist Anyanwu not reinstated. Still on the cover of Vanguard, 2027 coalition against me, full of political IDPs, coming from President Bola Tinubu. 20 soldiers, cause of bandits die in Niger clash. The story runs on page 7 of Vanguard. 20 soldiers, cause of bandits die in Niger clash. May the souls of our fallen heroes rest in peace. It's on that note we conclude review of front headline stories on Vanguard this Thursday. Don't forget to log into the website of Vanguard for continuation of these headline stories, www.vanguardngr.com. From Vanguard, we'll move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup, and the paper is still talking politics about PDP issues, and that is the Punch newspaper. The Punch says neck crisis, Makinde block revolts as INEC verdict tears PDP apart. Today's leading story on the Punch. Neck crisis, Makinde block revolts as INEC verdict tears PDP apart. Damagun Saraki back Wike allies return. Cancel June 30 neck. Pro Makinde NWC governors protest. Leading story on the Punch. Atop the masthead of the Punch newspaper, ex-generals flag intelligence failure as bandits killed 17 soldiers. Report trended yesterday. Ex-generals flag intelligence failure as bandits kill 17 soldiers. The story runs on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Don't forget to log into the website of The Punch to read more on these leading stories and stories inside the paper. From The Punch, we move over to THISDAY newspaper. This day's leading story is still on PDP crisis. It says Damagun Anyanwu is PDP National Secretary, cancels NEC, proposes caucus meeting. Damagun Anyanwu is PDP National Secretary, cancels NEC, proposes caucus meeting. The story continues on page 37 of THISDAY newspaper. And atop the masthead of this day, NUPRC, Nigeria attracted $16 billion oil sector investment commitments in 2 years. Tinubu to sign 4 tax reform bills into law today. Today marks is a historic one as Tinubu signs 4 tax reform bills into law today. We also conclude the review of front headline stories on this Thursday. Log into the website of THISDAY for continuation of these headline stories, www.thisdaylive.com. From THISDAY, we move ahead to the next paper, and incidentally, the last paper we have on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian says, amid weak social services, states take nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. Amid weak social services, states take nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. That's a good exclusive running on the cover of The Guardian this Thursday. Amid weak social services, states take nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. And we have illustrations beneath that leading story. 3 states may spend 2.7 billion naira on office renovation in 3 years. States to spend 22% of budgets on health education. 6 trillion naira allocation to 2 critical growth sectors. Governors may dip hands in capital votes to fund vanities. Illustrations beneath the leading story on today's The Guardian newspaper. Amid weak social services, states take nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. The story continues on page 6 of The Guardian. This story continues on page 8 of The Guardian. Damagun, PDP, NWC on warpath over Anyanwu's reinstatement, NEC meeting. Damagun, PDP, NWC, National Working Committee on warpath over Anyanwu's reinstatement, NEC meeting. The story runs on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Don't forget to log into the website of The Guardian for continuation of these leading stories. Well, I actually said The Guardian was our last, but however, we have another one we can actually take before we close today's Inside Nigeria, and that is Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune says PDP crisis gets messier, 5 days to 100th NEC meeting. Acting National Chairman postpones June 30 NEC meeting. Reinstates Anyanwu as National Secretary. 11 NWC members countered Damagun over Anyanwu NEC meeting. This story runs on page 3 of Nigerian Tribune. SNNPC CFO says, I was never arrested by EFCC over alleged $7.2 billion fraud. The story continues on page 25 of Nigerian Tribune. Of course, it's a trending story that EFCC has arrested some MDs of the renovated refineries of Kaduna, Warri, and Port Harcourt over 7.2 billion naira fraud. $2 billion fraud, sorry. However, in today's Nigerian Tribune, the SNNPC CFO has come out to say he was never arrested by EFCC over alleged fraud. Still on Nigerian Tribune, 17 soldiers killed, 10 others injured in battle with terrorists in Niger, CDS. Military deploys 800 special forces to combat insecurity. That concludes the review of Nigerian Tribune newspaper this Thursday. Don't forget to log into the website of Nigerian Tribune for continuation of those headline stories. Well, viewers, is on that note we conclude today's Inside Nigeria. We just had newspaper review on your breakfast show, Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Ugbebo. Don't forget to log into our website for continuation of these stories. However, don't forget also to stay tuned on the same channel for news on the hour. Until I come your way again, same time, same station, for another fresh program of Inside Nigeria. Thanks for joining us.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country. Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.